The obvious question is, if it's illegal to buy these things until you're 18 years old, how are young kids getting hold of them? Because shopkeepers must know what they're doing.
Yeah, so during this investigation, we spoke to so many different people and a number of young people as well, from my age, lower and higher, and I'm 14, so you're thinking people, young people younger than me are already vaping. It's crazy. Now, from speaking to these young people, they seem to be getting hold of these vapes super easily. You know, there's not really... It's not very difficult to get them, to be honest with you.
So how do they do it?
So in shops, there are some shops that are selling vapes to underage, you know, without asking for ID. And the thing is with vapes, it's not just in vape shops, it's in pizza shops, it's everywhere, you know what I mean? It's not just in a specific categorised shop.
Right.
You can get them anywhere.
You can get the vape shops on the high street, but then, as you say, they're sold in newsagents and all sorts of places.
All everywhere.
Yeah.
Also off parents as well. And also vape dealers in schools. There are people that are buying the vapes and selling them within a school. I mean, it's crazy how widespread it is, and that was one of the things that I couldn't get my head around.
Is that story that we saw there, is that a rarity? Is it unusual to have that kind of reaction?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, it is a rarity. But there will be more of it because we don't know, you know, what vaping can do to us, and I'm sure you'll elaborate on that in a moment because it's not been around long enough to know 100%, you know, like smoking. It took us, what, around 30 years to know for sure? And vaping might just be the same.
Or even a couple of hundred, if you go back to the original use of tobacco. It's a long time. It's interesting what Brent said there, isn't it, Dr. Hillary, that getting it off parents. I wonder if what's perceived as the huge success of vaping for adult smokers trying to quit, that they're moving them onto vaping. You can imagine that parents are sort of pleased and celebrating, oh, I haven't smoked an actual cigarette for X number of months or years, I just vape. I wonder if that message then permeates down to their youngsters that vaping's all right.
Yeah, there's this perception that vaping is without risk, and that's not true. We've only got short-term and medium-term evidence that it's safer than smoking tobacco, but it's not completely without risk, particularly in people who've never smoked tobacco before. He's good, though, by the way, isn't he? He's so good.
I know.
He's so eloquent. No, but if you look at what they call biomarkers for toxic substances that are associated with cancer and respiratory disease and heart disease, you can measure those in people who vape regularly or even occasionally. You can measure them. So it isn't without risk. And we will see people down the line 20, 30 years from now who get lung damage and problems from vaping. They won't be nearly as many as those who use tobacco. Tobacco contains tar, which is the carcinogenic substance. But nicotine itself is very addictive.
Well, it delivers a charge to the heart, basically, isn't it? It raises blood pressure.
It raises blood pressure, it raises the heart rate, it causes anxiety. Nicotine withdrawal can cause quite unpleasant symptoms. So the tendency is to keep smoking, to keep vaping using nicotine. And what we don't want is young people starting to vape, you know, who've never smoked before. I mean, why make it attractive? Why put it in colourful packaging?
So is it the colours and the smells and the perfume that you think... Do you think that as well? That's what's making kids think that, you know, that this is worth a try?
Yeah, again, during this investigation, we was really, really interested in why so many young people have started to take up vaping. And we put it down to a few main reasons. One was peer pressure. Social media plays a role as well. But two of the major factors is the colours, the packaging and the flavours. I mean, for one example, during the programme, we look at a vape that's custard donut flavoured. I mean, what adult that's quitting smoking tobacco cigarettes need a custard-flavoured donut?
Is it seen as cool? You see, when I look back to my later school days in the 1970s, I started smoking when I was about 14, 15, because it was seen as cool. You were sort of imitating adult behaviour. Smoking was still then glamorised as a prop in film and television dramas. It was seen as a cool thing to do, and you were basically acting above your age. Does vaping have the same appeal today to kids your age?
Yeah.
Does it?
100%. I mean, from speaking again to the people my age and the young people that have started vaping, it's almost the peer pressure plays a role in looking cool, is what they were saying. You know, if all your friends are doing it, you almost feel like you have to do it as well. But definitely, yeah.
Is it more addictive, Hillary? Because, you know, throughout the centuries and the eons, teenagers, youngsters have been susceptible to peer pressure and wanted to look more grown up. Is it still better to do this? Are there fears it could be a gateway to other things, including cigarettes?
Yeah, for some people it will be a conduit to smoking tobacco, to using other recreational drugs. That's the worry. And there's no doubt that some kids are vaping for the first time, and then they'll go on to other things. Having said that, you know, it is safer than smoking tobacco.
And it's been a game changer for people, hasn't it, in terms of trying to quit cigarettes?
Look, it is the most successful way of quitting smoking cigarettes, and in smoking cessation clinics, that is the #1 choice that people use. So a third of adults still think that vaping is as harmful as smoking, which isn't the case, and that's putting people off who want to give up smoking tobacco from going on to vaping. So we don't want that either.
No.
So it's about a balance. It's about, you know, it's about, for your information, you know, understand what vaping does. It's not completely without risk. You don't want to start doing it if you've never smoked anything at all. You know, why make it look cool? You can buy colours that suit the outfit that you're wearing. You've got flavours. But it also contains solvents. It's got propylene glycol in there as a solvent to dissolve the nicotine. Nicotine is not a nice substance for the body. It's a poison by definition, in small doses, obviously.
What about physical fitness? Does it affect physical fitness? I mean, in the way that smoking did when, you know, we were playing football.
No,
and
not particularly, because that was the tar.
That's the
and
tar.
that was the lung damage that tobacco. That tobacco caused. Nicotine and the aerosol from the solvent is not nearly as harmful.
OK.
But not without.
So, Braydon, where is this going, do you think? Where are we going to be in, say, 5 years from now with kids and vaping?
Well, the truth is, no one really knows.
No.
I think more definitely needs to be done. I think maybe on the front of vape packages, you know, like cigarettes, you know, they have that warning sign with the teeth and stuff. Maybe they should put that on the front of vape packets I also think that young people should learn more about it. I think a lot of it comes from a lack of understanding, to be honest with you. From a lot of the young people that I spoke to, they didn't really know what it could do to you. They didn't have any idea, and they wasn't really worried about it. So maybe if we learnt a bit more in school and taught us about the health risks, and maybe had a few more lessons on it, because I feel like it's touched on, but, you know, it's brushed over.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people using it comes from a lack of understanding, as I've said. So I think maybe to try and combat vaping and try and stop it down the line, as you say, 5 years' time, I don't really know. But I'm just hoping that more can definitely be done to try and stop young people from vaping.
All right, Braydon, thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Congratulations
you very much.
on the
Thanks for having me on.
It's really good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Henry.
Thank you.